Hello everyone, in here I and my group will explain about hortatory exposition. Let's start. Before that, I will introduce the members of the group, namely Kaynda, Ligar, and myself.
Okay, here I will explain about the meaning and purpose of hortatory exposition. For the first, I will explain the meaning of hortatory exposition. There are three meanings, but I will cloud it. So hortatory exposition is text that explain a theory of problem in exposition and decide manner that aim to enforce the legal. And next is the function. So the main function of hortatory exposition text is to convince reader or maintenance that something should or it shouldn't be.
Okay, with me, Kaynda will explain about genetic structure and language feature of hortatory exposition. The first is genetic structure. Genetic structure of hortatory exposition usually has three components. The first is thesis. Thesis is statement or announcement of issue concern. Two is argument. Uh, in the form of scientific data, logical reason, picture, and graphics as media to determine whether the thesis is true or false. The last is recommendation. Is statement of what should not happen or be done based on the given argument, atau tindakan yang harus kita lakukan atau jangan kita lakukan. Nah, next is language feature. Language feature of hortatory exposition. The first is using simple present tense, same as using verb 1. Next is using modal adverbs. Modal adverb to express belief, atau untuk memperlihatkan sejauh mana kepercayaannya. For example, like certainly, surely, and other. Next is using action verbs. Action verb is verb that expresses something that a person, animal, object, or process in nature. For example, like run, walk, jump, and other. Okay, next is using evaluative words. For example, like important, valuable, and trustworthy. Next is using adverbs. Adverb function to explain adverbs or adverbs themselves. For example, like too hard, very well, and other. Next is using adjective. Adjective word that tells us more about a noun. For example, like beautiful, rich, and small. Next is using technical terms. For example, like atmosphere. Next is using general and abstract noun. Abstract noun is a noun that refers to something non-physical. For example, like culture, police, and other. The last is using temporal connective. Its process relate to time. For example, like firstly, secondly, and other. Bye-bye.
In here, I will explain about the example of generic structure of the hortatory exposition example. Here are two examples. Let's see. For the first example, the title is the importance of learning English. The first one is thesis. Thesis is a paragraph that contains the author's thesis about an important matters as the main idea of the essay. For example, it's like English nowadays has an important in paragraph 1 in here. The second is arguments. Arguments are several paragraphs containing evidence, reason, facts that can support the main idea. For example, like 1. Learning to speak English will may be the best way to improve ourselves. That is in the second paragraph. 2. If we can communicate in English, we can contact people from all of the world. That is in the third paragraph. And the last, if we can communicate in English, we can travel more easily. That is in paragraph 4. And the last is recommendation. Recommendation is a closing sentence containing things that must be done immediately as a follow-up or recommendation from author to the reader. In this example, the recommendations are speak English as much as possible at the end of the paragraph. Let's move on the second example. The first one, thesis. In example 2, the thesis is, it is important to accompany children while they are watching TV shows. They are in paragraph 1. The second is arguments. The argument is, there is a great relationship between watching TV and the watcher's personality. Much time in watching TV can be bedtime disruption. There are in paragraph 2. And the last is recommendation. An example is in the final paragraph, which states that parents should protect their children from the bad effect of watching TV by 4 steps, like mentioned above in the text. And next, I will explain about the difference between hortatory and analytical exposition. There are two differences. The first difference lies at the end of the text. In analytical exposition, at the end of the text contains restatement or conclusion, while in hortatory exposition, the final part is in the form of recommendation or suggestion from the author. And the second difference is that the hortatory exposition text must be success in making the reader follow the author's direction, in contrast to the analytical exposition, where the text only makes the reader aware of an issue.